Okay, we're talking with Paul Arney, the owner, operator, founder of the Ale Apothecary. I'm just doing a video interview. He was kind enough to grant us some time. One of the first questions we'd like to ask is, how did you get started brewing? Did you start out as a home brewer? What was your first beer? Things like that.
Yeah, my dad and I in the basement, homebrewing extract and stuff. It was a good father-son thing to do.
Oh, sure.
We had a bunch of carboys from his parents, and he always wanted to brew, and I, being 18 years old and not legal to drink, it was a cool deal. So we brewed a bunch, not a ridiculous amount, but enough to get the feel for it and all that. And then I went off to school and got a degree in something I was really interested in, but didn't really pursue looking for work in my major. That was one thing that I usually blame them for not training me how to look, but the truth is I just wanted to learn about rocks and mountains and trees, and got a geology degree and got out of school and was working at this coffee shop and got to know this guy named Tom Munoz, who was running the Glacier Peak Brewery in Everett, Washington. Really cool guy, and I've lost track of him, so if you know who he is, have him get in touch with me because I miss Tom. But anyway, he turned me on to beer and let me know that there are places you could go educate yourself about them. And so I ended up selling my van and went to Davis, the Davis Extension Program in 1996. And when I was all about done there, I started writing letters to every single brewery in the Northwest. I think I sent out over 150, 180 letters. Some in California, Idaho, etc. I got 2 responses out of all those letters. The little tiny brewery in Roslyn, they're like, sorry man, we're never hiring anybody, good luck. And the other one was from Dr. Bill Pengelly here at Deschutes Brewery in Bend, and he said, when you get out, give me a call, come on down. And I did that and ended up with a job and got married 2 weeks after and started my the next phase of my life here in Bend back in '96. Then worked at Deschutes Brewery for about 15 years. And,
okay, I read a little bit about that on your website, mountainbrewery.org.
Yes,
that's the right URL.
My blatant self-promotion.
Hey, it's what you got to do. You got to put yourself out there. So when you were brewing with your dad, this is one question that I'd like to ask all brewers: is when you made your first brew, did you like it? Did it turn out well, or what did you think of it?
Well, I remember it. It was a smoked brown ale, and in fact, we put it in 22s, and before I got married, the wife and I took a trip around the country. It took 3 months, and doing stuff that young people do, and I brought a bunch of these beers with us to, heck, I made this beer, we're gonna drink it, maybe give it to people, and I don't know, it was one of the first mountain passes we went over, and all of a sudden there was just explosions coming from the back of the van. A number of the bottles blew up, but made for a great story, and the van smelled like beer for the rest of the trips.
Right now, if people want your beer, they have to come up here to get it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the question that I can ask is, do you plan on selling it in town, like at Broken Top Bottle Shop or the Brew House or any of the restaurants around or things like that? What are your goals or plans there?
Yeah, for sure. Right now we are selling direct from the brewery, which and I don't think that's going to stop. That's a main reason that I'm doing this the way that I'm doing it is that I really feel like the relationship between the consumer and the brewer is really important. And just like when you were up last week, these conversations get started, and it's a really good way to do two-way communication and getting to know people. And I just like that aspect about it. But yes, we've been stymied a bit with our label situation, and so that's the main reason that we haven't been able to sell in town yet. All those problems are going to be behind us mid-August. We've got it all scheduled with an outfit up in Portland to manufacture the labels, and once that happens, we'll put them on some bottles. And definitely have talked with Broken Top Bottle Shop. Evan over at Whole Foods has been very interested, and Tom over at the Homebrew Shop. And on top of that, another cool thing about being in this industry is we've had bottle shops from around the Northwest already walk in these doors and buy beer from us. And so we're planning on having a relationship with beer mongers over there in Portland, and there's another Elizabeth Station up in Bellingham, Washington. And you got to put the beer in front of the people that want to drink it. So that's the goal.
Okay, that was kind of leads into another question: is is how wide of a distributorship. I believe when I was up here a couple of weeks ago, or a week ago, or whenever it was, that you were saying that you're not planning on selling it all the way over to Michigan and stuff like that, but
Right.
but kind of keeping it in Oregon, maybe Northern California, Southern Washington, that area. Are you? Is that still your goal? You just kind of plan on? Do you ever foresee going bigger, or do you want to just kind of stay a local guy that if you want great beer, you got to come here to get it?
Well, I like the sound of that. But, I mean, there's people, that guy in Florida that's been talking to me about getting beer out there, And as much as I would like to send him a case, it's illegal for me to do so. The state laws for beer are very odd and strange. And, being a little brewery, self-distributed, with a high-end product, we compete directly with another beverage that has license to ship pretty much anywhere they want. And that's something that I think I'm going to at least start making some noise about, getting some people talking about it, because there's no reason why if you lived in Michigan, you couldn't say, hey, Paul, I would like to order a case of beer, and I could send it to you.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we're going to be going. But for now, definitely going to be keeping it local. But if, like, say Alaska allows me to ship direct to consumers, but not to retail outlets. And so if, we find someone up there that wants our beer, of course I'd send it to them.
Oh, yeah.
But it wouldn't be one of those things where somebody could call me up and say, hey, Paul, send me a pallet of your beer,
Yeah.
I'm going to put it in every 7-Eleven here in town. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Do you ever foresee opening a pub in town, or do you want to just kind of stay in the brewing aspect of it and maybe just let other pubs sell your stuff on kegs or on tap or something?
Yeah, I don't foresee a restaurant, but I didn't really foresee how this whole thing was going to work out either.
Yeah.
I don't know what the future holds, but my goal initially was to be involved as a brewer, doing beer things as much as possible, and so that's why we didn't do a pub.
We discussed earlier before we started the interview here that your beer is kind of indescribable because there's nothing like it. I've never tasted anything like it, and you were saying that it's difficult to describe. Where do you come up? I think the Latoche is the one that you were saying is on elderberries. That
was the Spencer.
That was the Spencer. Okay, pick right down here at the creek.
Yeah, black currants.
Black currants.
Yeah,
Okay, not elderberries.
Yeah, pick right by the creek, and I mean, in this environment of a bunch of breweries all over the country, not just in Bend, Oregon, and a lot of creative brewers doing really smart things, and how do you do something different? And my aspect, the way my vision has come from is basically to go as far back in the past as possible, and to try and create a beer that has a spirit of thousands of years of brewing, meaning that incorporating multiple yeast strains and bacteria that aren't traditionally used in brewing today. And the other thing is making the equipment myself. I believe that the vessels themselves are very important, in the shape or the style or whatever. If I have something like that spruce log outside that we're going to end up using as a lauter time, that's going to impart something to the beer that you just can't get out of a store-bought vessel. Yeah. And so really it's coming into trying to innovate the process of making the beer more than, say, letting the ingredients define the beer. I'm trying to use as few ingredients as possible and let the process and this equipment and these organisms kind of do the work and be in the front.
Okay, yeah, that when you're saying using thousands of years of beer knowledge or history, the Vikings and stuff, when they were making grog, didn't have stainless steel vessels.
No, they didn't.
Obviously. So, I've never heard of anybody else using a hollowed out spruce tree for a lauter tun. That will be very interesting when that comes to fruition. I know you spoke on your blog, if you will, or your website about you got to be creative at Deschutes. They kind of just gave you free rein to experiment. And I've talked to some other brewers in town. Tanya Corbett, who used to be at Bend Brewing and is now at 10 Barrel. That was her thing over there, is that she gets to use their old 10 barrel system. They got a 50 barrel, and she gets to do the experimentation stuff. So she's really excited about that. And you're obviously very excited about your beer. Can you kind of give us a process of how you think of this stuff? You lay awake at night thinking of, what will it taste like if I throw this in there?
I will. Lay awake at night. I mean, the process for me, it's I think when I was a younger kid, a young lad, I was pushed into the sciences because my brain worked that way. Math and science was something that I could comprehend. But as I've grown older and I've been able to make more decisions, based on what I want to do, I find myself leaning more and more into art. creative processes. And I don't think it's really a mistake that I filmed brewing, because it's like this, this two-headed monster that's like equally science as much as creativity. Really, my inspiration lately has been coming from the fact of trying to imagine people prior to the Industrial Revolution making beer. How are they doing these things? How are they keeping their vessels from drying up and shrinking without getting them to go poorly sour, like awfully sour, or how are they doing things? And another big deal is just trusting your gut instinct and not overthinking it. I'm doing my first spontaneous ferment. I'm doing some trials there, because really, ultimately, I would like to be spontaneously fermenting all the beers. And that's...
Now, can you explain what that means? Just the yeast that's in the air, or how?
Yeast. Thousands of years ago, people all across the world at the same time somehow discovered to ferment sugars, and basically it was the fact that there was yeast in the air present, and if they supplied the sugar in a certain way, the yeast would consume the sugar and give them a fermented beverage that would render them slightly intoxicated. Yeah, and they like that.
Yeah.
Don't we all? And so the whole idea is that they're just wherever there's bees, wherever there's sugars, there are yeast. Their yeast are present all over the face of the earth. They blow around with the wind, and and that's another big curiosity for me too, is because yeast will mutate. The more you use them, they'll mutate. And so here we are, brewers in the 21st century, and we're using these yeast strains that, one may have originally come from over there, over here, or whatever, but they've been, just like a lot of our processes, they've just been standardized and forced to produce a very certain flavor profile. Well, what happens if you let them kind of go crazy? What's going to happen? And I'm particularly liking what's going on here. We're doing a lot of yeast blending, since we're not doing full spontaneous brewing. I am doing a whole bunch of yeast blends where I'll get Y yeast varieties and blend them together to create basically a yeast strain that nobody else is using, because they're all blended together. Open ferment will allow some bacterial or yeast contribution into the mix, but not overly so right now. We're just kind of putting our toe into the water, so to speak.
Well, I know when I started home brewing, that was one. I read a lot of books about it and stuff, and that's one of the things they said is that you got to be careful of wild yeast because it'll produce off flavors. So how do you prevent that from happening without revealing any trade secrets? How do you control that to not just make a skunky beer like? Well, I won't name any names, but we all know who I'm talking about. the big three.
Yeah. Well, skunky beer actually comes from light, so that won't be coming from that's an oxidation of the hop compound. So, if you want to get beer in a clear bottle and it's not skunky, that's when you got to start asking some questions. How is that possible? But really, the goal there is to design a beer that will go sour to a certain degree, will perform, and these off flavors that the brewing community is so fixated on. For many years, they were the flavor components of beer, and the term beer spoilage organism kind of cracks me up, because a lot of these organisms for thousands of years were the major flavor profile of beer in general. And so for me, I think the idea was to create a beer that would use these flavors and create something that's palatable and desirable out of them, as opposed to, say, the other mode of thinking where you say you want to create an American Pale Ale, and you have a very specific hop presence, you want a very specific malt profile, that even the slightest little organism coming in there and doing a little bit of souring or a little bit of off flavor or something would not be found very good. You wouldn't, you'd be missing your target.
Right. Okay. I got you.
Yeah. It really comes down to designing the beer and that's why I'm not using. That's why the malt component in the beers is so low. Is because I want the process and these critters to be doing the talking, and I don't want to create this clash of the titans battle with malt and hops and organisms and process. And so right now the malt profile is really subdued. It's just there to kind of give the beer its backbone.
I see. Okay. What do you think of? Do you think Bend is ever going to reach saturation? You opened, and like within a week or two, I think Crux opened. Worthy is being built. I've heard of another couple, Rat Hole, and I don't know what all. Do you think Bend's ever going to reach saturation, or do you ascribe more to the more the merrier type of sentiment, or how do you think about that?
I mean, I like the idea more the merrier. I don't know how it's going to shake out. When I go to I went to the West Side 7-Eleven there the other day, and I was standing at the counter, and they've got this big snowboard sign behind the counter that says #1 sales of PBR in the state, and #7 in the nation. And it's like this little store that's right down there on the West Side, and I was just like, that's indicative of the alcohol consumption in this town.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people drinking a lot of really, really good beers, and if there's that much beer being consumed just out of that 7-Eleven, that one brand.
Wow.
I don't know. We've got beer tourism, and we've got a really, really vibrant beer culture, and the businesses that are affected and involved with that. People are really good about promoting it, and I've got nothing but high hopes. I like the more the merrier concept, and I think the best thing speaking for us is nobody's out there making bad beer.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll mistake saturation for I don't know, bad beer production or something when that happens. Who knows? I'm not sure.
Yeah. I've been kind of toying with an idea. I mean, I'm nobody, so I might edit that out. But
you should. You're somebody.
Yeah, I'm not anybody that's behind any kind of like advertising or something like that. But I've been thinking about, they are trying to promote tourism, beer tourism. So Bend is kind of like becoming I think of it as the Napa Valley of beer.
Yeah.
Because even though we're smaller than Portland has more breweries, but we have more per capita. Mm-hmm. And I think the last time I checked, it's always changing. That is kind of in flux all the time. There's always somebody else coming up when I Google that or whatever. But from what I can tell, Bend has more breweries per capita than any place in the United States. And so to promote tourism, I've tried to come up with something. People are coming up with, Beervana or something else with the name beer in it, or Brewtopia, or Beer. And I think that's just too blah, blasé. I would like to come up with something. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I mean, what do you think of advertising Bend in that way, promoting Bend with
I think Doug at Visit Bend has got it pretty nailed. I mean, so we've got, like you're saying, we've got all these breweries making great beer. We've got a system for people getting around. It's a small town, so it's easy to do all this stuff. But on top of all that, I mean, we've got stuff to do outside like nobody's business, So like families can come here and, there's the beer thing that everybody can do, but then they can take the family on a hike or on a boat trip or bike ride. I mean, it's just golf. It's kind of ridiculous. Like, it's just like the amount of activities that you can do in addition to the beer tour and all that. It's
the beer bus and the Bend Ale Trail.
Yeah.
So, and this is for my little brother Fred, and I hope he sees this video. Would you describe Bend as God's country? Because he says where he lives, Redding, California is, and I lived there, and it's not.
I've been through Redding.
Yeah, I bet. Hot in the summer?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what everybody remembers about that place. And a couple of nice lakes. Have you had people come up here for the Bend Ale Trail?
Oh yeah. And again, Doug did a really good job of incorporating us in the Ale Trail. Like, we've got a little mention on the back, and we wanted to be really cautious about that because we can't
You can't have a lot of people here.
We can't have people coming up here to get a stamp, but we are mentioned in there, and
cool.
they have something on the map, and it's been perfect.
Awesome.
So yeah, I mean, and it's like the right people are finding us, the people who are really interested in looking for something out there a little different, they're finding us through the Ale Trail.
You want me to cut it down and
really?
come up with the idea that it's like, use it for beer,
Okay, well, can you I think that's an awesome idea. I mean, hey, it freed up your view.
Yeah.
And again, this is something you just don't see everywhere.
No, you don't. Yeah.
I don't think Budweiser has one of these. So how is this exactly going to kind of work, if you kind of want to describe that?
So this is a spruce tree. It's an Engelmann spruce that was growing right down the hill. It's about a 200-year-old tree. And in Finland, they make this beer called Sahti that is the longest continuously made beer in the world. At least that's what they call it. There's a lot of indigenous cultures that ferment stuff that might rival it. But anyway, people are saying that this Sahti beer is has been brewed in the same manner without a break for longer than anything else. We create bulkheads. We've got a template for one, but basically the bulkheads will fit at either end, and then we'll run a clamp around them. We're going to use oak from a barrel to do that, but we'll
to seal it.
To seal
yeah,
it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so then you'll have this trough, more or less, that's watertight. You put a spigot hole in the end, and then what you do is, like I said, in Finland, what they'll do is use an aspen tree, and then they'll line the bottom with juniper twigs. And the juniper twigs act as the separation medium to keep the spent grain and allow the wort to flow through, so you can get the grain removed from the wort. And plus, it imparts unique characteristics.
True.
And you know, we do have juniper growing out there in the desert, but you know, because we're trying to do things as local as possible. And plus, I really like spruce. The spruce up here, when the tips come out, they're just really herbal. And I mean, it almost, like, I bet if you smelled it, you'd be like, wow, that smells like a hop. It's just, it's beautiful. Plus, the colonists made spruce beers. And stuff.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
We have that as a little historical item. Yeah, and so for us, we've hollowed out this spruce tree. And then we're going to use spruce tips for our we're going to call it the Sahati. Sahali is our flagship, so combine Sahali with Sati, and you get Sahati.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And so we're going to do that. But as I've been working on this and thinking about, you know, the fact I'm using an oak barrel currently to do my mashing and lautering in. It's a great mash tun, but it's kind of a crappy lauter tun because the grain bed's so deep. I'm really hoping to get this thing working, so I might just end up using it for all my beer. You know, we'll do the spruce tip thing for the Sahati, but then I'm thinking about putting maybe like a stainless steel screen in the bottom and just using it as my lauter tun. You know, going back to that thing I'm talking about, if I can come up with different vessels and different ways to affect the wort.
Oh, now will you have to like cover the top? Where will this be? It's obviously not going to be sitting out here in the yard.
No, it's not. I'll probably end up getting a couple chain hoists and put it right next to my brew kettle, and when I'm using it, I'll just lower it down, ratchet it down, and then when I'm not using it, I'll just ratchet it up and it'll be out of the way.
Get it out of the way.
And as far as covering it, no. You know, the conversion is all going to take place in the mash, and then what we'll probably end up doing is maybe sparging with a little bit hotter water than normal to help with that extraction. In Finland, what they do is they pour boiling water over it. The other thing that they do is they don't boil it; they just run directly from their kurna. This is you know, the Finnish kurna. They run their kurna directly into a fermenter. And
well, how much time will the beer spend in this?
Well, we'll have to see once we start using it. I'm hoping about 2 hours.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
enough time to give it some real, obviously some unique flavor.
It won't be as intense as the first time.
Right. So maybe this one will be next.
Yeah, well, this was my fudge factor. So like, if we mess up on this one, we've got a second one to attack. But it's been so much work that I really want this one to work.